Hello and welcome to the channel. Last week Toro sent me an engine maintenance kit for the snowblowers, and that reminded me that next week is officially snowblower maintenance week. So let's go through getting your snowblower ready to blow snow this winter.
Down in the dirt. Real bad.
So if you're like me, there's stuff piled on top of the snowblower, sleeping bags or bags of feed or whatever. So dig it out. And I like to just give it a quick bath. Sometimes I don't always clean them when I put them away. So for me, the simplest thing to do is just to take a bathroom cleaner called Scrubbing Bubbles. You probably have some in your bathroom already. Just take and spray the whole unit down. It's a foam, and it sprays nice and evenly. Let it set about 10 minutes and then hose it off. One thing nice about that, using the Scrubbing Bubbles, is it does take oil off if you got any oil spots or anything like that. And I take the leaf blower and just blow all the water off, just like you're going through a car wash, and it all comes out spotless. You don't have to wipe anything down or anything. So it's a quick way to get your snowblower looking nice again. You can do it inside the housing and anywhere the Scrubbing Bubbles doesn't hurt any of the plastic or anything like that. So once you get that done, it's time to take a look at some things that may have gotten bent or out of shape because you had stuff on them, or just sitting in the corner there and somebody did something. So if you have your handles folded over, some of the single stages ones you can fold the handles over, unfold them, take a look at your cables and make for sure none of your cables are kinked. I usually look at them first, like this one for out on the chute control. Make for sure that the cables for the gear shift and the clutch are not bound up, and the clutch cable and stuff like that, and then try them. This was all in pretty good shape. Everything seems to work good on it. So this one sticks just a little bit. It always has. There's a spring up here that's supposed to hold it up. Once you start throwing snow through it, it works fine. But just playing around with it a little bit, it doesn't always want to come back up. Just the nature of the beast. I think it has to do with this rubber flap that's in here. That rubber flap keeps the snow from coming back out this into the chute. Again, just kind of look through it, make sure everything is looking good. Make sure nobody built a nest inside the impeller. We'll get to that in a second. Before you take a look at the front end, take and push down on your handles and lift up, and make for sure that the tire pressure is the same on both sides. If one tire is low, when you go to pick it up, the other side will come up first. It'll get a little twist to it. If that's the case, go ahead and adjust your tire pressure so it's the same. It doesn't really matter to me how much tire pressure you have in them. A lot of guys like to run them with just a little tire pressure. They think that has better traction. I like to run mine pretty hard because if I take it off of the sidewalk, it'll dig into the turf and stuff like that easier, get better traction. So if it all comes up even, your tire pressure is good. So now let's take a look at the front end. So if you can have it on a nice level surface like I got it here, take a look and make sure that the gap is the same on both sides. Sometimes just using the snowblower in the wintertime, one of the skid shoes will get out of whack a little bit. It'll get crooked or it'll even come loose. I like to put about 1/8 of an inch clearance underneath the scraper bar. So paint stick works really good. Just take and put a couple paint sticks down and set it up on there. Then adjust your skid shoes. The paint sticks or the 1/8 inch clearance is enough that it won't catch on sidewalk cracks very often that way. If you're going to use it on gravel, of course, make a larger gap, 1/4 inch, even 3/8 of an inch if your rock is big and chunky like mine. This snowblower I only use on the sidewalk, so I usually keep it pretty low. So now let's tip it up, and you can tip your snowblower right back on the handles, as long as you got a wheeled one. Tracked ones are harder to do. But let's tip it back up and let's look at a few other things. Take a look at both of your skid shoes and make sure that they're not wore out on the bottom too bad. In other words, there's hardly any wear on them at all. But if you're starting to see spots where it's eaten into it and stuff like that, most of these skid shoes you can flip over. So just take it off and flip it back over again, over to the good side. If both sides have worn down over the years, you want to put new skid shoes on. That keeps everything nice and even, and it keeps from wearing out your shear bar, your scraper blade, whatever term you want to use today, as much. If you run this on the ground all the time, you're going to wear it out, and it's always going to wear unevenly. And a set of skid shoes costs less than it costs to buy this and have it replaced. So, because usually when you replace this, you'll have to replace some of these bolts too, because they'll be rusted up. These are plated screws that are on these, so they shouldn't rust too bad, but you understand what I'm trying to say. Take a look at your shear pins. Toro does not use shear pins. These are solid. They're not designed to break. Toro's gearbox and everything is tough enough that they don't need shear pins. Look at your auger. See if there's anything that's bent really bad or out of whack or so. Use a couple of crescent wrenches if it is, or a hammer and a block to beat it back in straight a little bit. When you run the machine, you want this to run nice and smoothly without a lot of vibration. Go back and look at your impeller, and these Toros, they have a cupped propeller on them. Sometimes if you get a big rock or something in it, you'll bend one of these. You can straighten them back out, or if they're really bad, replace them. So Toro also does have a weep hole way down there in the bottom of the impeller housing, so that water will drain out of this so you don't freeze your impeller up. As a reminder, if I have a lot of wet, sticky snow that I've been blowing, when I get done with my snowblower, I'll either put it in a spot that's above freezing, or I'll get a heat lamp and shine that down in here and kind of thaw this out. So the next time I don't have to worry about tearing up belts because my impeller's froze up. That's about it on the front end. You can check your gear lube on the Toro gearboxes. That's this little plug right here. You unscrew this, and basically the oil comes up to the bottom of the plug. If you see oil on the bottom of the plug, you're good. If you have to replace any oil, or if you see any leaks around the outside of it, which would be this gasket right here, look in your manual to get the right liquid to put in there, like oil or grease. Okay, let's move on and look at a couple more things before we do the engine maintenance. Take a look at your chute. I like to move it back and forth a couple times, make sure it's moving smoothly. Sometimes you can get bound up in here. Sometimes something gets caught down here, won't let it work. Figure out if it's not working correctly, try to figure out exactly what's wrong. On the Toros, they don't rust up in this pot because between the metal chute and the metal impeller, there's a plastic bushing in here that keeps everything nice and free. I usually don't hear of anybody having problems with these systems. The quick stick works really well, and this gear system up here also doesn't wear out very often. So you push down on this, it's spring loaded, so it should pop back up for you, back and forth, up and down. Anything else? No, we talked about the handles, talked about the cables, talked about the tires, talked about the front end, talked about the chute. So let's do the engine maintenance. All right, before I get started on the gas engine, let's quickly move over to the electric. Basically, you're done with the electric right now. The electric power unit does not need any maintenance to it. You might want to open the lid and make sure everything's clean in there, that a mouse or something didn't decide to build a nest in, but it's sealed pretty tight, so you should not have any problems like that. Take a look at your batteries and push the button and see what charge is in them. Toro batteries don't self-discharge like some other batteries do. So whatever you left them at, it's probably there. I personally take the batteries though and put them on the charger for 15 or 20 minutes, even if they're showing fully charged, just to let the charger sense if it is fully charged or not. So just something that I do. You probably don't have to. If you didn't charge your batteries when you're done last year, now's the time to do it. Get them on the charger, leave them on there until they're fully charged. All right, so let's go back to the gas engine. We're going to take and change the oil. We're going to change the spark plug. We're going to inspect the recoil. And we'll talk about fuel. So first, to get the oil draining, while I do some of the other things, let's drain the oil. Toro has a slot on the pipe that comes out of your engine here for the oil that you can put a wrench on to hold that, and then loosen up the other one. Oh, it's tight. Really tight. Hang on. All right, this does use a 12 millimeter and a 10 millimeter wrench to the sizes. If you got a socket set with a longer handle, it might make it easier to loosen this. I am going to use a rubber mallet to get us started. There we go. Once you got that loose, then you don't have to hold on to the pipe anymore. So the 252cc engines and smaller only use 20 ounces of fuel, so cool-up container works real good. If you're working on a bigger snowblower like the 420cc's, they hold 37 ounces, which is a little more than a quart, and you'll have to use a funnel down to your container. So just take and unscrew this. And it's a nice long thread. And let her drain in. I'm just going to set this up on top of the fuel tank for the time being. So while that's happening, let's go around and change the spark plug. Toro's maintenance kit gives you the proper amount of oil for your engine. I think they make two kits. They make one for the 252cc and smaller snowblower engines, and then one for the larger, like the 420cc snowblower engines. I know like I said before, the small engines here use 20 ounces and the larger engines use 37 ounces. Also in that kit you get the spark plug, a new spark plug, and some fuel stabilizer. To change the spark plug out, all you have to do is pull this boot off, and sometimes they're pretty tough. This one's not too bad. Toro uses a 13/16 plug size, or 21 millimeter. And why do you want to change your plug? Well, I'll be honest with you, spark plugs could last a long time in these, but with today's fuel, sometimes they'll gum up on you and you'll have problems starting your machine. So every time you change the oil, I would recommend that you go ahead and change the spark plug too on these. So stick your wrench in, make sure it's going the right way, and take it out. The spark plugs do come pre-gapped, so you don't have to check the gap on them. If you don't have an actual spark plug socket, if you got deep sockets, you can use them, but sometimes the deep sockets aren't quite long enough for the whole plug to fit in. All right, so can you see that? This engine's got 10 hours on it, and you can see that the spark plug has been used. It's got some film around it. As far as wear on it, it looks fine, but if you're into cleaning plugs, well, you could clean this one up. But it's just as simple just to replace it. And if you check the gaps, they look the same. I do have a gap gauge, but it's close enough for this. Okay, so never mind. I was going to do one more thing. While you have your plug out, take and pull your recoil starter out and look at your rope. Make sure your rope's not frayed. So it's easy to pull out right now. So just go ahead and pull it out. See if there's any wear spots on it. This one looks perfect. Because there's nothing more aggravating than to pull on your try to start your snowblower and have your recoil snap rope break on you. Yeah, I've had that done. So go ahead and these threads are nice enough so that you can finger tighten it down, then put your wrench back on it and snug it up. Usually it takes about 1 to 1.5 more turns. Don't make it real hard, but you want to make it keep going until it stops. That way this compression ring here gets compressed to the right point so that you don't have any problems. Okay? Go ahead and stick your spark plug lead back on, and that's all there is to that. All right, what else we got to talk about? The engine oil is draining. Let's talk about fuel while that finishes up. If you watched any of my other videos, you know I always recommend that when you turn off a snowblower, you go ahead and before you stop the engine, turn off your fuel shut off, and then let it run out of fuel in the carburetor. That keeps the carburetor empty. If you're using a fuel stabilizer in your fuel, that coats the stuff inside that carburetor, so you don't have any problems in the spring, in the fall here when you want to go start it again. If you got a snowblower that doesn't have that, well, sometimes you'll end up having to drain the carburetor and clean the carburetor out to get your snowblower working. So, like I say, now is a good time to make sure that's going to work. Toro recommends that you take the fuel out of your snow thrower and replace it with fresh fuel. Personally, I use Stable or another good fuel stabilizer in my fuel, so it's good for the summer. If you weren't using fuel stabilizer, go ahead and follow Toro's recommendations. It's pretty difficult to actually drain the gas out of a snowblower. Some of them have a drain plug on the fuel bowl itself that you can loosen up, and then you can let it drain into a pan. The easy way, though, is to take the cap off and if you got a screen in it, pull the screen out and then use a turkey baster to suck the fuel out. If you don't know what a turkey baster is, just go to Amazon and look it up. It's just a bulb. It's a tube with a bulb on the end of it, and you may have one in your kitchen, though I don't recommend that you put it back after you use it for fuel. They're cheap. You can go to Walmart and you pick one up for like $4. So, but use the turkey baster to suck as much fuel out of the gas tank as you can, and then put new, fresh, stabilized fuel in. Yeah, you'll learn to use fuel stabilizer. So, remember when you go to start your engine, after we get the oil in it, when you go to start your engine, turn this valve to open, leave it set for a minute or so the fuel can get down into the carburetor so you can give it a start. That's really it about the fuel. Toro gives you a sample pack of fuel stabilizer that will go into 1 gallon. You can buy the fuel stabilizer from them. Or you can, I use Stable all the time and it works good. I'm sure the Toro stabilizer works just fine too. So, all right, let's go make sure the oil is out of this and then fill it. All right, I got a little nervous that the oil was going to be too much for this container, so I poured some out. And it's all drained out now, so I'm going to go ahead and put the plug back in. And screw it in until it's finger tight. Take your container away and then tighten it down. I recommend that you use this again when you're tightening it, just so you don't accidentally spin that pipe. And I always tighten it as tight as I can with these little wrenches, just so vibration doesn't make it come loose. While you're here, take and kind of look at the bottom of your oil container, and if you see any large if you see any metal in the bottom, bright shiny objects, I kind of recommend that you take the engine into the service, take the snowblower into service and have them check it out. We hardly ever have any problems with snowblower engines that way, but just in case you're one of the unlucky guys, have them check it out. All right, so the last thing we have to do now is put the oil in. Toro's kit, like I said, uses it comes with the right amount of oil, and they do have the little aluminum cover on it to make sure nobody's messed with it. This spout is open enough. You can use a funnel if you want. I can usually get this in here without making a mess. And don't try pouring it all in at once. The hole is too small. It'll just boil out the top on you. So take your time, fill it up. Winter oil is kind of thin, so you don't need to hold the bottle too long to make sure you get it all out. Yep, see, I did it. Just poured it too fast. Take your time. And if you want to, go ahead and check it, make sure you got the right amount. Though it is designed to go like this, pull it out, and it'll show you the right amount. As you can see, it comes right to the top mark. All right, that's it, besides cleaning up your oil mess. I'll probably spray that down with scrubbing bubbles again and rinse that off with a hose later on. Any questions so far? Good. Last step is start it up and give it a run. So put your fuel in, turn your valve so it's open, leave it set for 30 seconds or so. Put your finger over the hole on the primer button and press it twice. Set your choke, give it a pull. If it doesn't start, press it 2 more times, give it a pull, it'll start for you. If you like to use electric starter, you can go ahead and use electric starter too. You'll still have to use the choke to get it started. That's all there is. I showed you on this Toro. Most of your other snowblowers are basically the same. You want to do the same inspections on it. Your oil capacity may be a little different. Your spark plug is going to be different, of course. But I like these Toros a lot. These have the automatic steering in them. And that's one of the key points that I didn't talk to you about when I talked about having the tire pressure the same. These will go straight in a straight line until you turn them with the handles. If the tire pressure is off just a little bit, they'll tend to want to wander, go one way all the time. So if you're having problems with them not wanting to go straight, first thing you do is check your tire pressure. So, all right, any questions? Any comments? Leave them in the comments section below. Feel free to like this if you liked what I did, and I will talk to you later. Bye.